before I actually start doing the carving, let me just show you here exactly what we're going to do. This is the surface of the wood here. That's this surface there. This is the background to which we're going to go. Somewhere in there, which we can't see at the moment. What we're going to do with our deep gouges, like these number 9s, is we're going to make a cut in the wood like this, like so, and whatever cuts we do will overlap, and eventually, and this is the important point, these cuts want to end up just above this background. So there's a little bit of wood left that we can then finish off. So these cuts just above the background. That's what we're aiming for. Now you can't see the background, but you have to try and visualize it. You have to try and see this background going here or going flat, and you've got this sort of outside to sort of help you gauge where that is. And of course you've got your depth gauges. You'll need a deep gouge. This is quite a wide one. I don't think, well, I'll probably use that on some of the bigger areas. But depending on how small these areas get, you'll come down from half, quarter, and this one here, this is a 3mm, quarter inch sort of thing. So different size gouges. A deep gouge is what you need, and you're going to come across the grain. This is a general rule. The grain's going in this direction, like this. So we're going across the grain, and the reason is that this wood will just break away and crumble away. You don't have to worry about going with or against the grain. We just go against it. So it's a low level grip, still using my mallet, like this. And I'm taking this wood away. Let me just do a little bit by hand here. If I do it by hand, I can make this turning movement. And it's like I'm ploughing the background here. Let's just do this little bit. Okay, and it should be more or less down to the level of the V tool here. And this should be just above, just a touch above where I want to finish. So that's what I'm trying to do, across the grain, just above the background. So let me take some of this out, a bit of a deeper gouge here. Careful not to bump into the design. To refine that. Take your time over this, because the next stage, which is leveling this background, that will go much more accurately if you've got this underlying plane sorted out. So this should be fairly uniform. I'll have to turn the carving around and come in this direction. And when I get to the edge here, I'll do this little rocking cut like that. So that surface is a rippled surface, a ploughed surface, going over what will be the background as it runs down the book. Now something like this is a bit tricky to get at. You could do that, but because we can go downhill here, there's nothing to stop you going in this direction, because the shavings will come away. What you can't do, of course, is go into the grain that way. So this surface, and this surface will all be roughly the same. So I'm just going to work over the whole carving now and get away most of this pink background. I've lowered the background as best I can through all the bigger areas. If I squint, if I half close my eyes, I can see that I've got this shape going. So again, you can see little bits that I haven't been able to get in. That's okay. Everything's down to the background. And what's important is that the very bottom of each of these trenches lies a little bit above our finished surface. So the next stage is to, again, as best we can, clear away these ridges down to a finished surface. And this is called leveling, this stage. And I'm pushing it up, pushing the wood up to the waste here. This is all waste that's going to have to be cleaned and set in. That's our next stage. So right now I'm just going to go across here, across the grain, slicing, or downhill if necessary, and clean up as much of this background as I can. So what I want to end up with is a finished surface here that doesn't have any of these gouge marks, and actually is at the level that I've set. So if it's not quite there, I need to just take a little bit more away. And when I've done this, I'm looking at this and thinking, what does that look like? Is that going to be enough? And if I think that's not deep enough, I can take it back. I actually do think this is quite deep enough. So this is a flat gouge, and this is now a finished surface. So I'm not going to go back on this bit here, only on the edges. And when it comes through, when the background is coming like there, it's got to have a sense of passing through to this side. So this background here, just by eye, should look as if it's coming through. It should be the same depth, but the most important thing is that it looks right. So there'll be bits left here. You don't worry about those too much. And I'm going to work all the way around as best I can using wider or narrower flat gouges, leaving a bit of waste, which we'll clean up next. So here, for example, I can get a narrower gouge into there to clean that passage through. And then over here, again, being a different size gouge. So a variety of width is going to be what you need to get as much of that away as possible. And this sets the sort of baseline for everything else that's going to happen now. These difficult corners, I can leave those because I'll be able to get at those better in the next stage. But I'm taking my time. This is a finished surface. I want it to be nicely cleanly cut, no tears and so on. Here it is. You can see that some areas are really difficult to get at in these corners, partly because the straight tool is fouling the corners the edge of this wood. I can't get in like this, so we're going to have to use bent tools eventually on this. So here we are at this stage. What have we got is areas that mark the bottom of our depth. So once we've got this, we can start moving into setting these edges in. and cleaning this up a bit more. But this gives us our first sense of how things are going with the carving. Looking good.